Hello, everyone. This is Tyler,
And this is Nikki.
and we are back yet again for another episode of Smash Standby on our channel. Do go on. Today, we are jumping into not only our first Fire Emblem character, but we're talking about our first veteran. The two characters we already talked about, as you know, have both been newcomers. But today, we are talking about a veteran, Ike from Fire Emblem. So, let's get right into it. Ike's appearance in the Smash series, he was first in Brawl as a playable character. He kind of replaced Roy for Melee, which devastated many people.
Yeah.
He was in Brawl, and then he obviously came back in Smash 4. His current position on the tier is, we have yet again a pretty low character, 39 out of 52. Which, as Nikki told me, is what Pac-Man was at.
Yep, that was what Pac-Man was at when we recorded Pac-Man's video, but it can obviously change. That's how tier lists work, so that's why.
Yeah. And we're both pretty big fans of Ike. Like, he's a pretty fun character to play as, so we'll explain that later. But, Nikki, why don't you start us off with Eruption?
Alright. So Ike's neutral special is, as Tyler said, Eruption. Ike charges Ragnall, which is the name of his sword. Then he thrusts it into the ground. Thrusts. Anyways, he creates a pillar of blue fire. If it's fully charged, he takes 10% recoil damage from the fire. And the uncharged tip of the blade can meteor smash, and it also has a high vertical range because of the pillar of fire.
Yeah. The total charge does 35%, and it's also a pretty good edge guarding tool, because when a person's hanging on the side, it actually hits if you're using it up top.
It's a good attack, but it's hard to actually connect with it because it's easily seen because you have to charge it.
Okay, next up we have Tempest. It sort of releases a wind box around Ike, but does less damage, 14% in the air and 8 on the ground. And it can actually stall him in the air, so if he uses it mid-jump, it'll keep him at the same level.
Yeah, that could be helpful to help you recover quicker or recover better. So his other neutral special, his custom, is Furious Eruption. Its vertical hitbox is larger than normal, especially when charged, and if he has charged it halfway and uses it, it has 10% recoil. And 15% when it's fully charged.
Yeah. His side B is pretty notable for Ike, because Ike has a pretty fun side B. It's called Quick Draw. It uncharged says 6%, charged says 13%. But the problem with Quick Draw is the amount of ending lag it has. Because Quick Draw, unfortunately, it's a high-risk, high-reward move, because you can miss, and if you do miss it, you can be easily punished by that.
Yeah. Oh, and also something else to note about that is if he misses while he's in the air, it also leaves him helpless.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Nice. So his first custom side special is he's a Pokemon. It's close combat. It's where it's very similar to Quick Draw, but instead of just hitting the first opponent, he hits and dashes through the fighters, rather than just the first one he comes in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His next side B custom is Unyielding Blade. Its full charge does 19% damage. It grants him super armor, but the range and the speed of Unyielding Blade are much shorter than both Quick Draw and Close Combat.
Yeah.
What would you say is his best of the three there?
Honestly, probably
the standard.
Yeah. Close combat is a very close second, though, because of the fact that it can hit multiple opponents rather than just the first one you run into.
Yeah, but it's one of those rare cases where his standards definitely...
Yeah.
It doesn't have any strengths or weaknesses.
Yeah, you're right. So, that now, his up special, his default is Aether, where he throws Ragnall upwards, which launches enemies in the air with the sword. It spins in place a few times, hitting the enemies quite a few times while it goes up, and then Ike jumps up and grabs it and does a downward slam. And it has very horrible horizontal range, like he doesn't go to the side very much, but it has very good vertical.
And he also gained super armor from that move.
That is true.
And his next custom is Aether Dive. Basically, it just grants him much better vertical recovery than Aether. Anything else you wrote about that one?
Aether Dive has better horizontal.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I wrote the wrong thing.
Way to go. It has better horizontal range, but less vertical range than the other.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
So that's helpful, because he sort of throws it diagonal forward. Honestly, it's probably his best custom, because he gains actually a good bit of both vertical and horizontal distance from that.
Yeah, I find his default Aether is bad only because a lot of the times sometimes whenever you recover, you're too far away for it to actually help you get back on the stage.
Yeah, but you can combo Aether out of his down throw.
Yeah, that is a good one. His other custom is Aether Wave. He releases a wave when he hits the ground. But it does less damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It releases a shockwave, and it doesn't trap opponents like the other two do.
Yeah.
Now going on with his counter. Counter is a pretty common move in the Smash series. In fact, we already talked about a character who had a counter.
Yeah.
As their down B. Just similar to Palutena, he just takes an attack and does 1.2 the amount of damage that attack does. Ike's counter is pretty slow in general. I far prefer Mars and Lucina's counter to his, because they're faster, and although they are a little bit weaker, I would much prefer the speed over the damage.
Yeah, because if it's too slow, it's predictable. You can get out of the way and stuff and just figure out when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So his first custom is Paralyzing Counter. It stuns the opponent, as the name would have you think, but it has a narrower hit window, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you stun them, it allows you to follow up with another attack, which is good.
Yeah.
And finally, he has Smash Counter, which is... Okay. Smash Counter, he has a delay after the counter, which that's like the thing with this move. It has a big delay, but it does far more of the amount of counterattack damage and has a larger hitbox. But the delay after Ike gets hit can be so easily gimped that honestly, like, it's really hard to hit it with it, and it's just not really worth the risk, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So that'll bring us to his final smash, which is Great Aether.
Nikki, final smash is at the end.
You're right, I'm sorry, I wrote that. I write them out of order that we write. I apologize for that.
God.
You messed up with your notes earlier, too, so...
I know. Okay, go on with this tilt.
I'm sorry. Okay, so his forward tilt, he swings Ragnar horizontally, and it can be angled. It has a high knockback, and it's a good potential KO move.
It is, but it's pretty sluggish.
Yeah, that's the thing with Ike, is he's a very slow moving character, and it's easy to tell when he's going to attack. So.
Yeah, but unlike our previous two characters, he has amazing KO moves.
Yeah. Like,
nearly all of his moves, this might be shocking, but nearly all of his moves, save for like his down tilt, can KO. Mm-hmm. It's really insane. He's such a strong character with just this genuine power, but the problem with him and the reason he's so low is because of how slow he is.
Yeah.
Now moving on to his up tilt. It's a powerful KO option similar to his forward tilt. He does a quick upward slash. However, just like forward tilt, it has a lot of ending lag.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So his down tilt, it's a quick low sweeping slash, and it's good for spacing, and it's a very good combo starter when they're at when they're at low to mid percentages, because it launches them up. Yeah.
His neutral aerial is just a standard swing around him. It also, similar to his down tilt, allows him to space himself easier. Not much to talk about.
Yeah. His forward aerial, it's an overhead swing downwards, and it can KO at high percentages, but it does have long ending lag.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty fast as a move. Quick startup.
Especially for him.
Yeah, especially for Ike. And it's extremely reliable for KOing. His back aerial, quick startup just like his forward aerial, but he swings his sword behind him. He gets a very small hitbox from this, which is unfortunate, meaning it's hard to hit opponents with it. But again, it does KO, so that's sort of a give-take thing there.
Yeah. So his up aerial, he swings Ragnar in a helicopter motion above his head, and it has a narrow vertical hitbox, but it does stay out for some time. And it's very powerful, but it does have end lag and a brief startup, so.
Yeah. And now his down aerial, he thrusts his sword beneath him really quickly, actually, which does Meteor Smash, which is helpful. Any Fire Emblem character, because Fire Emblem characters in general are pretty mediocre in the air, especially Marth and Lucina. So for Ike to just have a Meteor Smash in general is really helpful, especially for his moveset. His forward smash, getting into his smashes now, these are What? Oh, right, it's your turn.
There we go. So his forward smash, it's a very powerful overhead swing, and it has very good knockback and good KO potential, but it is, however, one of the slowest smashes in the game, so it's very easy to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see him telegraphing his move whenever he's about to use it, because he has to charge it up for a second in order to actually have it do a lot.
And I also want to point out, just the uncharged move of that still has a good deal of lag for an uncharged smash attack, which is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
His up smash is weaker than his forward smash and extremely punishable if you don't use it at the right time. Not much. He just swings his sword above him. Pretty unoriginal.
Yeah. So that his down smash is he stabs in front of him, then behind him, and the second hit behind him deals a bit more damage and knockback. And it's good for hitting rolling opponents. It's one of Ike's fastest smash attack, but it does lack in knockback in the front, and it has a lot of end lag.
It does. So, his home stage is Castle Siege and Coliseum.
And in the 3DS, it's Arena Ferox, too.
Oh, right. I always forget about 3DS.
It's not important.
And he enters the stage from the glowing Fire Emblem symbol, similar to all the other Fire Emblem characters.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on to his final smash. Nikki, you want to tell us about it?
Okay, now his final smash. That would be the Great Aether. He performs a fiery uppercut, which throws the opponents in the blade in the air, and he combos various slashes and kicks, and throws them into the ground, which then it explodes, sending them upwards off the stage.
Yeah. It does between 64 and 74 damage just by itself, which is insane for a final smash.
It's really good.
It is really good. And on small stages, it's easy to KO because it shoots you vertically up, so high blast lines are pretty prevalent in this smash.
Yeah, and it blasts you up quite a bit, too, not just a little. So.
Yeah, and when he throws the character down, it can hit any other opponents down on the ground.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Now, as usual, I will lighten you with some trivia about Ike. Ike is the only Fire Emblem character in all of the games, in all iterations, with an up smash that doesn't stab just straight up. You'll notice that Marth, Robin, Lucina, Roy, they all have it like that.
Wow, you're right. Never noticed that.
Yeah. Ike is the only one. And he's also the only Fire Emblem character to use an arm and a leg at all in any of his attacks, which I thought was interesting. And finally, this is a beta element. Before the game's release, in one of the picks of the day, if you remember Sakurai did picks of the day, right after Ike was released, he showed his eruption off. And eruption, the flames in the move used to be orange, just like regular fire. but prior to the game's release, he changed it to blue to more fit Ike's title, the hero of Blue Flames, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And now, can sit back and relax and just sort of talk about our overall thoughts of Ike. And I know Nikki is really starting to like Ike as a character.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot better with him, I will say. You didn't used to like him at all, really.
Yeah, I used to hate Ike. He was probably my least favorite Fire Emblem character, but I've played as him quite a few times recently, and I've started to take a liking to him. He's pretty fun.
Yeah. Although slow characters are usually pretty bad, they're still fun to use.
Yeah.
And even though Ike is the worst of the 5 Fire Emblem characters in Smash 4, he still definitely deserves to be called a fighter on his own, because he has a really formidable edge guarding ability, because he's really good in the air, which, like I said, is rare for a Fire Emblem character. But he's really good in the air, and he gains a lot more option from Rage. And you may know Rage as like the steaming effect you get when your character takes more damage. And he, in addition to his already high defense, he gets a good bit of armor from Rage and can also launch much easier.
Yeah. So I find, like we've already explained multiple times, he's a very slow character, but, for being a slow character, he's very fun to use, and he's actually not that bad. The only real problem he has is that, majority of his smash attacks, which are the ones that do the most damage, are very easy to avoid because it requires a lot of charging, and so you can see when he starts charging and just get out of the way of it.
Yeah.
And Eruption is also one of his better moves, and just like the smash attacks, requires a bit of charging, so.
And finally, he was, which I approved this, he was one of the few characters that was greatly buffed from the numerous updates, especially in 1.0.4 and 1.0.8. He was buffed greatly. His ground and air mobility were all increased. He has a much better combo ability now than he did at the beginning at game's release. But sadly, just in general, Ike was much better in Brawl. Ike was a high tier character in Brawl. Now his range is shorter, his attacks have been weakened, and he's far more predictable than he was in Brawl, which sucks. But he's still an okay character.
Yeah, that's probably I'm assuming that's probably why I like him much more now, because he was greatly buffed, and he's not as good a character as in Brawl, like he said, but he does have his good points.
Yeah. So we're going to end it here. This has been our 3rd episode of Smash Standby. Next week we have a pretty interesting character, our first of the original 12 Smash characters, Pikachu. So our first Pokemon too.
Yep.
So that should be exciting. So join us next time when we talk about Pikachu. See you guys later.
See ya.